Hello there, and then welcome to a brand new lesson. This is How Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. Up until now, we have been factorizing expressions. This time around, we want to turn those expressions into equations and then find the actual values of x. These values are what we call the roots or solutions of an equation. In this lesson, we are looking at what quadratic equations are. We apply the zero product rule to find the root or solution of an equation, and we'll look at how to also apply the method of factorizations we've learned so far to actually look for the roots of the equation. Without much ado, let's quickly look into it. When we talk of a quadratic equation, it is just any equation at all that is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. That is ax squared plus a bx and then plus c. And take note, the a should never be equal to 0. That simply means there should be a number, or there should be a term of x squared. Example of a quadratic equation. So since it's an equation, take note, this I wrote here is an expression, but then bringing equal to 0 makes it an equation. So examples of a quadratic equation is x squared, then plus 5x plus 6. This is an expression. Equal to 0 makes it an equation. And in this case, our a is 1, b is 5, and then c is 6. 2x squared minus 7x plus 3 equals 0. This is also another quadratic equation. Now, to find the solutions or roots of a quadratic equation, the various steps are: you'd first of all factorize the quadratic equation using the method of factorization we have learned in this lesson, in our previous lessons. And then you use the zero product rule to do what? To find your solution. Since we have already gone through how to factorize, let's specifically look at the zero product rule, and then we can solve some questions on them. So talking of the zero product rule, it says if the product of two numbers is 0, then at least one of those numbers must be 0. What does this rule actually mean? So all we are saying is if you have two numbers, let's take two numbers to be A and then B. So if A and B, where we are multiplying them, so if the product of A and B is equal to 0, then it implies that either A is equal to 0 or B is equal to 0. This is what the zero product rule states. And it is this idea that we use to solve what? Quadratic equations. So in algebra, if you are able to factorize your terms such that you have a bracket x plus b and then x plus a is equal to 0, then we say that either this bracket is equal to 0 or this bracket is equal to 0. And with that in mind, we then equate x plus b. That is, you are equating one of the brackets to 0, of which you now make the x the subject. And then you also equate your x plus a also towards 0. And then you solve for the values of x. Now that we know what the zero product rule is, let's actually solve some examples. So for this first example we have here, it says x minus 4 in one bracket multiplying open bracket x plus 2 equals 0. We have x minus 4, then x plus 2 is equal to 0. Using the zero product rule, we are equating each bracket to 0. We start with the first one, that is x minus 4 is equal to 0. Taking x the subject, we have x being equal to 0, and then the negative 4 moves to the other side so that it becomes a positive 4. Evaluating, we have x equals 4. For the second one, we have x plus 2 equals 0. Making x the subject, we have x equals 0 minus 2. We have x, 0 minus 2 gives us a negative 2. So this simply implies that the values of x that makes this equation 0 is what? Negative 2 or 4. That is all. This is how we solve quadratic equations. Now, I took this first example just to explain the zero product rule. In our next example, we would actually go through the process of factorization before arriving at our answer. So in this second example, it says we have to solve for x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. X squared minus 5x plus 6 giving us 0. So the first step is to factorize your expression. We went through the series on factorization and we said if you want to factorize this type of expression, that is a quadratic expression, take note of what you have here as your a. This time around it is just 1. So 1 times 6 gives us a 6. Now the factor pairs of 6 that when we add we get negative 5 is a negative 3 and then a negative 2. You see, so if you have negative 3, then we multiply by negative 2, we definitely get a 6. But then if we add, then we get a negative 5. And that is the perfect choice for us to use for our expansion. Hence, we have x squared. Then instead of negative 5, we are going to rewrite it as negative 2x minus 3x and then plus 6 equals 0. You see that? So with that, let's proceed. We now do our own factorization. Using the method of grouping, we pick x squared minus 2x, then put it in one bracket, then plus negative 3x plus 6, also in one bracket for 0. You don't equate these to the 0 yet because we have an addition sign here. Remember the rule was product, zero product rule. Hence, we need to factorize first. So what does x squared and then negative 2x have in common? They both have the x in common. So we have x squared divided by x. What does it give us? It gives us an x. Then negative 2x divided by x also gives us a negative 2. With that, we are done with this set of brackets. Then we come here. What does negative 3x plus 6 have in common? In other words, what is their highest common factor? And that definitely is what? Your negative 3. So we bring out our negative 3 and then into bracket negative 3 times what gives us negative 3x. That is an x. And negative 3 times what gives us positive 6. That is a negative 2 and it's equal to 0. With that, we take the coefficients and put them in one bracket. So x minus 3. Then in another bracket, we pick one of this. That is x minus 2 is equal to 0. I'm actually not dwelling much on this explanation because there is a video on that I explained all the processes involved in factorizing quadratic expressions. So we now have our two brackets multiplying each other. Hence, we need to equate each bracket to 0. Our first bracket to 0 gives us x minus 3 equals 0. And this simply implies that we have our x being equal to 3. That is making x the subject. Negative 3 moves to the other side to become a positive 3. For the second one, we have x minus 3 equals 0, which also implies that for the second one, we have x minus 2 equals 0, which then implies that our x is equal to a positive 2. So we can say, therefore, our x is equal to 2 or 3. So 2 or 3 are the roots of the equation x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Or they are the solution to the equation x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. As simple as that. So this is going to be our last example in this section. It says find the truth set of the quadratic equation 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. So we have 3x squared minus 7x and then minus 6. And you realize that this time around the coefficient of x squared is not 1, but then it's what? 3. So we need to multiply our a by our c. And that is 3. So ac becomes what? 3 times negative 6. 3 times negative 6 gives us a negative 18. Now you look for the factor pairs of negative 18, which when you add will give you a negative 7. Take note, factor pairs of negative 18, and when you add, they give you negative 7. Now those factor pairs can be, I think, negative 9 and then 2. So negative 9 times 2 gives us a negative 18. That is correct. What of negative 9 plus 2? What does it give us? It gives us a negative 7. That simply means we can use this factor pair to work out our solution. Hence, we have 3x squared. Then instead of the negative 7, we are going to rewrite it as positive 2x minus 9x and then minus 2. Well, we needed to bring our equal to 0. So it's equal to 0. Without that, it is just an expression. So take note. So with that, we do our factorization. In pairs, we have 3x squared plus 2x. Then plus, we have negative 9x minus 6. And it's equal to 0. We have not factorized yet. We have just grouped our numbers. 3x squared plus 2x. They both have x in common. So that x comes out and we have 3x squared divided by x. That gives us a 3x. We have 2x divided by x. That gives us a positive 2. Then for these as well, we have negative common to both. So we have a negative. Then for the numbers 3 and 6, what is their highest common factor? That is a 3. For the variables, they don't have any variable in common. So negative 3 times what gives us negative 9? That is a 3. And not forgetting our x. Then negative 3 times what also gives us a negative 6. That is a positive 2. Is equal to 0. So since these two brackets are the same, we write that out so that we have negative 3 plus 2. Then we now write our coefficient also in one bracket. That is x minus 3 equals 0. We then equate each bracket to 0 using the 0 product rule. So we have 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. Solving for x, we have 3x being equal to the negative 2. The negative 2 moves to the other side to give us a positive 2. So 0 plus 2 then becomes just a 2. Making x the subject simply means we would have to divide each and every term by 3. So this 3 cancels out this 3. Then we have x being equal to 2 over 3. For the second bracket, we had x minus 3 equals 0. So making x the subject, we have x being equal to 3. It is negative 3 here, so if it moves to the other side, it becomes a positive, and that is all. Now for our solution, we wanted the truth set. So say x is such that x equals 2 over 3 or 3. Then you put it in your curly brackets nicely. That becomes your solution set. This is basically how we solve quadratic equations using the zero product rule. All you need to do is to make sure you factorize your quadratic equation, and then you equate each bracket to 0 and make the variable in question the subject. This is how beyond numbers where we learn maths the easy way. If you had any question, you can always let me know in the comment section and I'll address that for you. As usual, I'll give you some exercises so you try on your own. So here are 3 questions you can try on your own. It says you have to solve for x. This one applies to the zero product rule. And then for these two, you would have to factorize them and then continue from there. If this is your first time on this channel and you think it will be of help to you, you can choose to subscribe if you so do wish, so that anytime I release a video, it's fine as well. In our next lesson, we'll be looking at how to use the almighty formula to solve for an equation, that is a quadratic equation. See you in our next lesson, and bye for now. Stay safe.